Hello, welcome to today's Meet the Faculty session here at Vancouver Island University. As always, we are broadcasting. Today our feature program is Masters of GIS in Applications and the Advanced Diploma in Geographic Information Systems Applications. And we have a faculty member joining us here today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Dave Cake and I teach in the GIS programs at VIU. And if you can see somewhere on the screen around me, there's probably a slide showing the campus itself, and you can see the mountains behind and the buildings in the foreground. So we're calling, or we're talking to you today from the Nanaimo campus of VIU. And if you can see the map, it says that you can see the picture of Nanaimo on an island. So we're on the west coast of Canada, and we look across the ocean towards the mountains above Vancouver. And it's kind of a short drive or a ferry ride or a flight to places like Seattle in the United States, or to the capital, the provincial capital of BC, which is Victoria.
What we want people to realize is that once they get to Vancouver, there's that extra little hop to get over to our beautiful island.
Yes, so we look at Vancouver, but we're not in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So that island that we're on is where we get the name for the university. GISA, and the second is the Masters in GIS, or the MGISA. And I sort of want to start just kind of explaining how the two pieces go together. And I'll start with what I'm going to call stage one, and you can think about that as the foundation year. So you'll study things like the software and the analysis techniques. And if you come and just take that first year, you can leave with the advanced diploma. So that first stage is equivalent to just the diploma program. And if you stay and continue on to stage two, take the second year, those 2 years together, both stages together, is what we're calling the masters. So if you stay for the 2 years, when you leave, you'll leave with the advanced diploma and the master's certifications. So I'll start with just a little bit of a discussion about that stage one. And again, that's either the first year of a 2 year master's, or it's the diploma by itself. So the program's delivered in two formats. One is face-to-face, so that's in the classroom here in Nanaimo, and that's a 2-semester program. It's also delivered fully online, and it's stretched out a little longer because a lot of our students are working while they take that. But it's really important for international students to understand that if you take the online program, you're not eligible for study permits and work permits to come to Canada. So if you're interested in coming to Canada, you need to take that face-to-face version. And that's what I'm primarily going to talk about today, because I think that's what many international students are interested in. So the format for this is basically 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, nothing but GIS. So it's a cohort-based program, and what I mean by that is it's the same group of students that transition through all the courses together. So you might have my database course on Tuesday, and you'll be sitting beside the same person on Wednesday when you learn about programming or something like that.
That can be great for getting to know your classmates and having complementary study techniques and things like that. Absolutely,
it's a really technical program, so it really helps to have someone you know sitting beside you that you can ask questions. And again, it's very small class sizes, I was going to mention as well. We have at most 21 people in the class, so you have a lot of involvement with your instructor. I'm in the classroom, for example, all the way till 4 p.m. each day, so you can ask me questions, and you can sit beside the same person each day and get to know them, that sort of thing. So the structure of that first year looks like this. So the semester there, semester one, which is September to December here in Canada, that's 6 courses, and that's really the bulk of the coursework for the certification. Second semester, when you come back after the Christmas break in January, there's 2 courses that are sort of compressed into January, but the rest of that semester is. So the practicum, that's 9 weeks, and it runs roughly from February to April. And the idea here is that it allows you to pick an area you're interested in and sort of learn a little bit more about that area. But it also allows you to get some experience with the workplace in Canada to gain some contacts and things like that. So we do those projects with an external sponsor. So it might be with a government, maybe either provincial government, city government here. It might be within private industry, like a mining company or a forestry company, or it could be at another university, something like that. So If you have contacts or an interest with a certain company or organization, you're welcome to go find your own project and try and set something up with them. But we do understand that it's really kind of complicated for someone to come to a new country and to try and organize that kind of thing. So we do make sure that every student gets a project. I have a number of projects every year that students can choose from, and so on. So there's a lot of support for that.
You may also be able to build contacts when you first come here within the industry and find something once you arrive.
That's right. So you'll come probably in the summer, in August or something like that. And the practicum doesn't start till February, so there's certainly some time there where you can work with me, and I can maybe give you some names you could talk to or something like that as well. Yeah. So I'll talk now about the second year, the second stage, and again, this would be the second year if you stayed to complete the master's, and this is primarily a research project. So we deliver that second year in a slightly different format. It's what we call a blended format. So some of the courses are completely online and some of the courses are face-to-face. And again, this is really, the courses are to prepare you to do your research project, and then you do a big project kind of on your own. So the structure looks a bit like this. So that first semester, again, it's September to about middle of December. You take one big course which helps you prepare for your project. So you would learn, you'd maybe start to put together your primary research questions. You might look at some of the literature about what other people have done in that area, that kind of thing. And then you'll take 2 online courses that might be some more advanced analysis techniques like geostatistics that you might use as part of your research. When you come back after Christmas in January, typically students run from about January till maybe the end of August. That time frame is used for your independent research project. So that project is really, it's an independent study of something that you're interested in. So typically students will come to us already with kind of research ideas or things they want to study for their master's project. Essentially you'll be connected with a faculty advisor, so one of the instructors in the program will be your primary supervisor, and you'll work with them to kind of get through your research project. So the timing here is in that first semester when you're taking the courses, you'll be sort of working on your research proposal and kind of refining what it is you'll study. And then when you come back in January, now you're sort of doing your own research. So it could be data collection, it could be writing your report, all those sorts of things. And you'll have regular meetings with your supervisor, maybe every 2 weeks is usually what we do. And then when you're finished, you'll do a final presentation to the research committee. The classroom composition is kind of an interesting component for GIS, and that's because GIS is one of those technologies that can kind of be married with a real variety of areas of study. And we accept any degree as a prerequisite to get into the program. So typically geography is the biggest component. You can see that yellow slice of pie. Is it up there? Is it over there? I don't know where it is on your screen. Maybe it's up there.
It's that way.
It's that way. It's over there. Yeah. So when you look at the yellow slice of the pie, I've called it geography, but it's a real variety as well. We've got urban planners, resource managers, earth sciences as well, kind of thing. So a real variety even there. But the real interesting part is that red pie slice that's quite narrow. I've called it other, but we've had veterinarians, criminologists, anthropologists, all sorts of things. GIS is really interesting that way, and the classroom can be kind of diverse. It makes for good conversations anyway. Mm-hmm. Sometimes students want to know where they might work when they finish the GIS programs. And I've sort of broken it out into 4 kind of categories. The first is consulting. So in Canada, typically what we have is a number of really specialized companies that work on behalf of government or other companies, sort of the expertise companies. And so a lot of our graduates end up there, maybe in forestry or engineering consulting. Another big hiring organization would be, I guess, just government very broadly. So it could be the provincial government or the Canada government. Any organization really that is involved with, say, environmental monitoring, like Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Parks, any of the resource ministries like mining and forestry, those sort of ministries will use a lot of GIS. Also any of the infrastructure things. Local government, that's basically city governments, and essentially they use GIS almost exclusively for 2 big areas. One is engineering, to sort of look after pipes and wires, And then there's city planning, deciding about zoning and where buildings are going to be made and so on. And the other one I've just called high tech. It's kind of a catch-all here, I guess. It could be things like programming. It could be what I'm calling data services, which might be things like flying drones around, taking pictures, or it could be using some of these more advanced sensors like LiDAR.
And there are some companies in Vancouver and Victoria that are specifically doing app development for geographic
Absolutely.
information systems.
Yeah, lots of things on your cell phone you are driven by geographic information. Yeah. You might be interested in how difficult it's going to be to get work when you graduate. And what's interesting is it's kind of there's two kind of groups of students. Half the students either already have work or they find work before they even graduate or immediately upon graduation. But the other half take a little longer, maybe 3 to 12 months or something like that to find work. And if I had to try and explain what drives which pile you're in, which group of students you might be in, I think there's two things that really influence your ability to get work. Number one is skills and experience. And as I said, GIS combines with all of these other areas of study. So students are coming into our program with an education and maybe work experience. So what that is drives, I guess, really how valuable you're going to be as an employee. So imagine someone who's got a forestry degree and they've got 10 years of forestry experience. Well, adding that GIS certification just makes them a more valuable forester. And they're going to be, there's a lot of employers for that sort of thing here. If you have experience in a much more, what I'll call specialized combination with GIS, maybe business or something like that, there's going to be fewer employers that are looking for that specialization. So you might have to look a little harder. The other one is location. I guess to put it simply, the more flexible you can be about where you're going to work, the more jobs there's going to be.
And some of these jobs are available on a global basis, so some people are hired and then end up traveling for their careers.
Yes, definitely, yeah. We've got graduates, I think a couple in Australia and Europe and the Middle East right now. So certainly those skills are valued in places other than Canada. Some people ask, why would I come to VIU? And from my perspective, what I see is the small classrooms. We have, as I said, between 10 and 20 students taking these programs, so it's very small. You have a lot of opportunity to talk to your professors. It's not like you have to book times to see them outside class and so on.
We also have the designated faculty of international education here, and that means that international students have 65 staff members in this building where we're broadcasting from today who are here to support them. So we have international specific recruitment, admissions, counseling and advising. We have immigration consultants available to our students here. And then any number of other services. So you're really well supported here. We also have support for social activities because we understand that you're all coming from your home countries and probably don't know a lot of people here. So we give you a lot of opportunities to do some interesting fun activities and to meet people here on campus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of the place itself, I find it's a real mid-sized community. It's big enough that it has amenities like restaurants and things like that, but it's small enough that I think it's clean and it's safe, and it's a lovely place. You can see in the photograph, I guess it's now over there somewhere, there's some students sitting on a beach. Well, in that picture, that's the downtown is in the background of that picture. So you can see it's not a massive city, and it's actually quite a lovely physical landscape. Yeah. Yeah, it's also the warmest,
the mildest climate in Canada.
Yeah, that's what you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, it's snowy in much of Canada right now. It's early March right now, and here it's certainly it's not t-shirt weather, but it's getting pretty close right now.
Yeah, not too long.
Yeah,
It'll be soon.
Yeah, and we're certainly blessed with that great combination of mountains and the ocean. So I might go skiing this weekend and sailing the next weekend. This time of year is fantastic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So many activities available for residents in Nanaimo. We have ocean type activities, so kayaking, paddling, stand-up paddle boarding. We have a lake nearby for swimming in the summertime, and then also a couple of bigger cities close by that are close enough to do a day trip if you feel like having a little road trip and
right.
Yeah, taking a break from studies.
Yeah. In terms of how do you get into the programs, really there's two primary requirements. One is you have to have a degree, a bachelor's degree, a BA, BSc, and again that can be in any discipline because GIS is one of those programs that combines with a lot of things. You also need at least one GIS course, and really what we're trying to do here is make sure you know what you're getting into, right? We don't want you coming here and spending a lot of money if you don't kind of have an idea what it's all about. So typically that would be an undergraduate course as part of a geography program, so maybe a 200 or 300 level course. If you don't have that, we have a few options for satisfying a prerequisite. Maybe you've been working with GIS in your job for a while already, that can work. Or we can give you access to an online course, so you can maybe finish in about a month rather than taking a whole academic semester to complete it. If you're applying for the master's, we also need a letter of intent that kind of explains a little bit about where you are professionally and your interests. But the big thing is we want to hear about what area of study you'd like in terms of a research topic when you get to that research project stage. And we do need 2 letters of reference explaining how you're a solid academic student and that you're applied and things like that. And then of course there's the English requirements, and you can maybe speak to that.
I can, yeah. First, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the letter of intent because it's really one of the key pieces of a person's application, right? It lets you know what their goals are, and also that passion for GIS work that will take them into their careers. Yeah,
for sure. That's probably the most important thing from my perspective when we start reviewing the applicants, is to know that they're ready to take on a research project. So they've already got some good ideas, they've maybe worked in the area before, they may have contacts and data all ready to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for the English language requirement, we have, for the ADGISA, we have a requirement of an IELTS 6.5 with no band under 6, and for the master's degree we have an IELTS 7.0, no band under 6.5. We also have an English language center here on campus, and so if your English isn't quite up to the level where you need it to be, it's possible to still apply to the program that you would like to take and then receive a conditional letter of acceptance. So in that case, you would come to campus a little bit early and study in our university preparation or grad prep courses. Mm-hmm. And students find that it's actually a great idea to do that because in arriving early, they're having a chance to get settled in housing, have a chance to get used to the new culture and the new surroundings, and make some friends in that. So it also prepares students academically because they know what to expect in the Canadian academic system. Mm-hmm. So how to write papers and things like that. So we're not just teaching that for that higher level of English, we're also preparing students to enter into an academic program in a Canadian university.
That's great. In terms of how to apply, the tuition's there on the screen here. We also have, there's a link you can see there, and that'll actually tell you not just the tuition fees, but things like textbooks and some discussion about maybe housing suggestions and costs, and kind of the bigger picture as well.
Mm-hmm. So that you can do your financial planning for the full length of your program and have an idea of what the cost of living is in Nanaimo. Yeah. Which I'll just mention is quite a bit lower because we're a smaller town. It's lower than bigger cities in Canada like Vancouver and Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the application deadline, again, our program starts in September of each year. So you do want to give yourself some lead time, particularly for international students where you have to get things like study permits and work permits and that in place. So I do recommend that you get your application in fairly quickly here because just because of all that's involved in getting approved. And we'll go to questions.
So we'll take questions now. We understand that a lot of students are in time zones that are opposite to ours, and so a lot of you, it's the middle of the night for you right now. And so we have received some questions in advance, and our staff will be putting those questions into the comments area. I welcome anyone who's watching live to do the same, and we'll get to all of the questions in this session. I'd like to introduce our admissions officer. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do here?
Sure. My name is Karen Blackman, and I'm an admissions officer for international education at VIU. And I take the initial applications that you have submitted to the university, and I review them. and prepare them to pass over to the faculty to assess and determine if they will accept you.
So Karen, what can students do to ensure that they have a smooth application process?
Well, what we usually like to see is a complete application when you submit it. So if you can make sure that before you submit your application that you have all the documentation ahead of time. Our portal that you will apply to allows you to upload preferably PDF files into different categories online. And so if you can make sure when you submit your application that you're supplying us with all of those different documents that we're asking for, that way we're not trying to track you down afterwards, sending emails back and forth, trying to get the documents that we need in order to continue with your application. So if you don't have all the documents at the time you apply, we can still accept the application, but we won't actually review the application until we have all the documents. So submitting it incomplete doesn't actually get you ahead in the line. It's better to just submit it all at once, and then the process will be a lot smoother and quicker.
And we are in an uncertain time for some regions in the world, and the suggestion that we're making is that people proceed with the intention of studying here for our fall intake. And so please do get those applications in, and we'll do everything that we can to make adjustments as needed, but definitely continue with your planning at this point. And what about students who may not be able to find an IELTS testing center that's open right now?
Yeah, that has been a problem. So if it really is uncertain right now for you how you're going to get the documentation in, then I would encourage you to apply, and because you don't know when those will be accessible, the IELTS centers or the TOEFL centers that aren't currently open. Yeah, I would encourage you to still apply, and then we may be able to give you conditional offers in the meantime until we can get your final IELTS scores in.
So we're going to take some questions from students now. One of these questions, the first question was sent in advance. We have a student asking, can I apply for a postgraduate work permit after the program? So I can address that one. With the ADGISA, that's a one-year program, so students are eligible to apply for a one-year postgrad work permit. And if they apply to if they complete the master's degree, that's a two-year program, so students are eligible to apply for a three-year postgrad work permit in Canada. We have a student who asked, can I apply to the advanced diploma and the master's degree at the same time? Karen, would you like to take that one?
You could potentially do that. What I would encourage you to do is, if you actually qualify for the MGISA program, the master's program, I would encourage you just to apply for that one. And if for some reason the faculty doesn't feel maybe you're prepared or you're quite ready to do a master's level program, but they see that you do have maybe the GIS courses behind you or a real passion or interest in the program, they might suggest that you come and do the advanced diploma first, and then partway through that, then you could reapply for the master's program. So I would start out with the master's program. If you feel maybe you don't have master's level, you're not prepared quite yet to do a master's level program, then I would apply for the ADGISA program.
We have a question for you, Dave. You mentioned that I can take an online course to satisfy the GIS course prerequisite. Can you explain how that works and how much it costs?
Yeah. So essentially this is for people who have a degree but they don't have that GIS course, and so often to go back and pick that up might mean they have to take a whole nother year to try and find that course at a local university. So you can take an online course here. So what happens is we give you access to put software on your machine, the GIS software. We give you access to the online courses, and it's totally free, and you can generally finish it in about a month or so. So it's much quicker, and you can do it as kind of while you're in the queue for the application process. So we can give you conditional acceptance, and then you've got maybe 30 days to finish that online course, and then we can lock you in.
And it's really important to take that course seriously, because that prepares you for the class, but also will give you an indication of whether this is something you want to do for your career, right?
Yeah, it's really important that you understand what a GIS course or a GIS job might look like, and a lot of people are surprised that it's a very computer focused. You're sitting in front of a computer a lot, and there's things like programming and all those sorts of things. So if you don't have a good impression about what GIS is all about, it's a big risk for you to spend the money and come to a new country and things like that, only to find out it isn't quite what you expected. So it's really important, I think, that you have that initial course just to sort of, I guess, make yourself more confident that this is what you want to do.
And the course itself prepares people for that career, right? So it's a very hands-on course. They're doing a lot of work. Do
you mean the program or the prereq course?
I mean the program itself,
the
ADGISA MGISA.
Absolutely, it's very employment focused. We're looking at, you'll learn the software that is found in most of the workplaces. You'll be learning the skills and using the data sets that many of these government and consulting organizations use. So it's really employment focused.
Theory and practical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have a question, can students work while studying? So with the Canadian study permit, students are allowed to work 20 hours per week off campus and then full-time during scheduled study breaks in their programs. Could you talk a little bit about work-life balance and the focus on academics there?
You mean if you're working while you're taking the program?
Yes, yeah.
That's very challenging. I think in particular during that first stage, the diploma courses, you're in the classroom 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and then there's probably homework and reading and so on after that, so there's not a lot of room, particularly if you're sort of juggling learning a whole new culture and language and things like that as well. So it's certainly possible to work, but my advice would be to keep it fairly minor, not a lot of hours of work. Yeah.
We always suggest that people plan financially for the duration of their program and get settled and see what the workload is like, and then if they feel that they can take on a part-time job, then decide to do so at that time.
Absolutely. I think the second stage, when we get to the research project stage, there might be a little bit more room for you to squeeze work in around your research project as well, because you do have about 8 months or so to write a final project, basically.
And there are plenty of part-time jobs around Nanaimo for students who do feel that they can work while they're studying.
Yeah.
What kind of support is available for international students for academic writing? We have 2 places that international students can go for academic writing support. One is the Writing Center in the library, and that's open to all VIU students, and that helps them to format their academic papers. We also have an International Student Resource Center in the library where you can sign up for a session with one of the teachers from our English Language Center, actually, so they can provide a lot of support in writing papers.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about the Practicum Session? Is it paid? Can you give us a little more information on that?
That's a good question. Yeah, so essentially you're going to do 9 weeks in a workplace with an external sponsor. So let's say it's the engineering department here at the City of Nanaimo. It varies. Some students are paid for their projects, some students are not. So probably if I had to put a number to it, I'd say about half the students are paid and the other half aren't. So it's going to be a matter of you choosing what's important to you. Sometimes students choose a small environmental organization that really doesn't have a big budget, but they really want to work with that organization. So in that case, they might be interested in doing an unpaid project simply to get a chance to work with that organization. Others, where it's Ministry of Highways or something here in the province, they've got a big budget, they typically pay their students and so on. So it kind of depends on what the student is interested in.
And I just want to point out too, when you, if you do get an acceptance from us at the time that you apply for your study permit, you'll also want to apply for a work permit and let the Immigration Center know that you do need a work permit, just in the event that the practicum is a paid practicum.
Yeah, specifically the co-op work permit, and that's that can be more difficult to attain if you don't have it on entry. So it's good to plan ahead that way.
Encourage you to get it ahead of time, because if you're already in Canada trying to get it, it can be quite a timely process.
We have a question from Haroon Khan. Thanks for watching today. You're interested in engineering or an MBA program on the basis of BTech honors. So we have undergraduate programs in engineering, and we do have a fabulous MBA program. Harun, if you would like to email us at worldviu@viu.ca, you can get some information on those options. We also have done a live stream with our MBA faculty already, so you can go back in our Facebook feed and watch that session if you like. So we've come to the end of our questions here. I'd like to thank you all for watching today, and if you have any additional questions after the fact, as I said, I know that you're in different time zones around the world. We're going to be monitoring this live stream for quite a while after after we finish up here, and it's possible we'll definitely be answering those questions within the stream. You can also email us at the address I just mentioned, worldviu@viu.ca, and those emails are actually answered by our fabulous intern team here, who are master's students who are currently studying at VIU, so you can ask them whatever questions you like about life at VIU. So thank you again, and on behalf of all of us, I'd also actually like to thank our technical team. We have Snigdha, Henry, and Joni, and also Ami, our digital marketing specialist. Thank you, Karen and Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you here on campus someday. Bye.